Hi, this is English 9A, Credit 2, Lesson 1, Theme and Skill Overview. If you go to page 5, we are going to look at summarizing and paraphrasing. So below, the information shows the similarities and differences between summarizing and paraphrasing. And so then it will help us do the activities to come in this packet. So a summary, the goal is to condense the main ideas of a text, use the summary to take notes for class or to help you remember what happened in a reading assignment, and a summary should be as short as possible, just the main ideas, okay? And then a paraphrase is to put someone else's ideas into your own words. You use a paraphrase when writing an essay or paper. A paraphrase does not shorten a text, it just puts the ideas in a text into original words. So it's usually the same length. Sometimes people take it sentence by sentence or idea by idea, but it's the same length. So if you look at the bottom, it gives you another kind of idea. For here, you're summarizing, you see how large that paragraph was and shortened because they only use the main ideas, and it's significantly shorter than the original text. Whereas the paraphrase on the right side, the squares or blocks are similar to each other because you still use all the details and you're just putting it into your own words. So if we move on, complete the organizer below, read the quote in the left column, summarize in the middle column, and paraphrase in the right column. The first row has been completed for your reference. So if you're looking at the first box under quote, it gives you the quote, patriotism is love of country, but you can't love your country without loving your countrymen and countrywomen. We don't always have to agree, but we must empower each other. We must find the common ground. We must build bridges across our differences to pursue common good. Cory Booker, U.S. Senator. The summary, again, is shorter than the main ideas. A real patriot is not only loves his or her country, but other citizens and embraces them despite their differences. So it's not the quote in total, but it is the main idea. And then the paraphrase, one cannot be a true patriot without loving all their fellow citizens. People do not always have to agree, but they must empower each other and find common ground, bridging their differences to help the greater good. And so what your job is to do is to take the quote right here, and you are going to write a summary for it and paraphrase it. So I will read the quote for you. Embrace a diversity of ideas. Embrace the fact that you can disagree with people and not be disagreeable. Embrace the fact that you can find common ground. If you disagree on 9 out of 10 things but can find common ground on that 10th, maybe you can make progress. If you can find common ground, you can accomplish great things. David Boies, American attorney. So go ahead and summarize that in the first box and then paraphrase in the next box, and then you can move on when you are done with that. Read the article below, highlight or underline key points that will help you write a short summary following each section of the article. For the first section, key points have been underlined for you. So if you're looking at this page, we're going to read this article chunk by chunk, and you're going to summarize each portion, okay? So what they did here in the beginning of this article is they underline the important sections for you, and the tip right here is as you write the summary, focus on the underlined words, okay? So I'm going to read the beginning of this article, and then you will pause to write your own summary for each block that we do here. So, in November 1863, President Abraham Lincoln was invited to deliver remarks which later became known as the Gettysburg Address, at the official dedication ceremony for the National Cemetery of Gettysburg in Pennsylvania, on the site of one of the bloodiest and most decisive battles of the Civil War. Though he was not feared he was not the feature orator that day, Lincoln's 273-word address would be remembered as one of the most important speeches in American history. In it, he invoked the principles of human equality contained in the Declaration of Independence and connected the sacrifices of the Civil War with the desire for a new birth of freedom, as well as the all-important preservation of the Union created in 1776 and its ideal of self-government. So, you're going to go ahead and write that summary. You can start it off, again, this is not, it should not be as long as the paragraph above, and just stick to the main points. The date, who was giving the speech, where it was, why the speech was so important. Okay, so go ahead and look at the underlined words and piece it together to create a summary of what I just read. And then when you're done, you can move on. So the tip for this page is when deciding which key points to highlight or underline, think of the 5 W's: who, what, where, when, why. And I think that's important in, providing a summary. You want to give those important details, which do include who, what, where, and when, and why. So as I read this paragraph, remember to underline key points, the who, what, when, where, whys, to help you with the summary below. Okay, and the summary is going to be of this whole section, burying the dead at Gettysburg. So, from July 1st to July 3rd, 1863, the invading forces of General Robert E. Lee's Confederate Army clashed with the Army of the Potomac under its newly appointed leader, General George G. Meade, at Gettysburg, some 35 miles southwest of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Casualties were on high on both sides. Out of roughly 170,000 Union and Confederate soldiers, there were 23,000 Union casualties, more than 1/4 of the Army's effective forces, and 28,000 Confederates killed, wounded, or missing, more than 1/3 of Lee's army. After 3 days of battle, Lee retreated towards Virginia on the night of July 4th. It was a crushing defeat for the Confederacy, and a month later, the great general would offer Confederate President Jefferson Davis his resignation. Davis refused to accept it. After previous battles, thousands of Union soldiers killed at Gettysburg were quickly buried, many in poorly marked graves. In the months that followed, however, local attorney David Wills spearheaded efforts to create a national cemetery at Gettysburg. Wills and the Gettysburg Cemetery Commission originally set October 23rd as the date for the cemetery's dedication, but delayed it to mid-November after the choice for speaker, Edward Everett, said he needed more time to prepare. Everett, the former president of Harvard College, former U.S. Senator, and former Secretary of State, was at the time one of the country's leading orators. On November 2nd, just weeks before the event, Wills extended an invitation to President Lincoln, asking him to formally set apart these grounds to their sacred use by a few appropriate remarks. So, you'll go through and write the summary for that portion. And when you're done, you can move on. So that is a picture of President Lincoln. Gettysburg Address, Lincoln's preparation. Though Lincoln was extremely frustrated with Meade and the Army of Potomac for failing to pursue Lee's forces in their retreat, he was cautiously optimistic as the year 1863 drew to a close. He also considered it significant that the Union victories at Gettysburg and Vicksburg under the General Ulysses S. Grant had both occurred on the same day, July 4th, the anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. When he received the invitation to make remarks at Gettysburg, Lincoln saw an opportunity to make a broad statement to the American people on the enormous significance of the war, and he prepared carefully. The long-running popular legends hold that he wrote the speech on the train while traveling to Pennsylvania. He probably wrote about half of it before leaving the White House on November 18th, and completed writing and revising it that night after talking to the Secretary of State, William H. Seward, who had accompanied him to Gettysburg. So you're going to go ahead and write a summary, and just remember, if you were telling somebody what I just read, giving them the main points, that's your summary. So you just need to put it into words in that box, okay? And once you're done, you can move on to the next portion. The historic Gettysburg Address. On the morning of November 19th, Everett delivered his 2-hour oration from memory on the Battle of Gettysburg and its significance, and the orchestra played a hymn composed for the occasion by B.B. French. Lincoln then rose to the podium and addressed the crowd of some 15,000 people. He spoke for less than 2 minutes, and the entire speech was only 272 words long. Beginning by evoking the image of the Founding Fathers and the new nation, Lincoln eloquently expressed his conviction that the Civil War was the ultimate test of whether the Union created in 1776 would survive, or whether it would perish from the earth. The dead at Gettysburg had laid down their lives for this noble cause, he said, and it was up to the living to confront the great task before them, ensuring that the government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. The essential themes and even some of the language of the Gettysburg Address were not new. Lincoln himself, in July 1861 message to Congress, had referred to the United States as a democracy, a government of the people, by the people. The radical aspect of the speech, however, began with Lincoln's assertion of the Declaration of Independence and not the Constitution. He was the true expression of the Founding Fathers' intentions for their new nation. At that time, many white slave owners had declared themselves to be true Americans, pointing out the fact that the Constitution did not prohibit slavery. According to Lincoln, the nation formed in 1776 was dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. In an interpretation that was radical at the time, but is now taken for granted, Lincoln's historic address redefined the Civil War as a struggle not just for the Union, but also for the principle of human equality. So again, you're going to go through and write your summary, and when you're done, you can go on to the next portion. As a student, you will often be asked to summarize and paraphrase various arguments, claims, counterclaims, key ideas, and supporting evidence. An argument expresses a position on an issue or problem and supports it with evidence. Being able to analyze and evaluate arguments will help you distinguish between claims you should accept and those you should not. So, below, examine the information and use it to answer the questions that follow. So, analyzing an argument. A sound argument should appeal strictly to reason. An argument includes the following elements. A claim or thesis or controlling idea is the writer's position on an issue or problem. Support is any material that serves to prove a claim. In an argument, support usually consists of reasons and evidence. Reasons are declarations made to justify an action, decision, or belief. Evidence is the specific references, quotations, facts, examples, and opinions that support a claim. Evidence may also consist of statistics, report of personal experience, or view of experts. Counter-arguments and counterclaims are arguments made to oppose the other arguments. A good argument anticipates opposing counterclaims by providing counter-arguments to answer them. So, they give you an example. The claim is, my curfew should be extended from 11 p.m. to midnight on Saturday night. The reason is I don't have enough time to spend with my friends on weekdays because of homework and my job. The evidence: on weekends I spend 4 hours doing homework and 4 hours at my job. And the counter argument is, I know that it's difficult for you to sleep when I'm out late, but I need you to trust that I'll be home by midnight and give me a chance to prove it. So, what is the difference between an argument or claim and a counter argument or counterclaim. So again, go back to the left side and it should help you identify what is an argument or what is a claim. So the argument is, the position on a specific issue, and the claim is the writer's position. And then the counter argument and a counterclaim come from the opposing side, or some people say the other side of the fence. Okay. And then when making an argument, why would it be important to anticipate an opposing argument? I'm going to help you answer this one. So we're going to write, when making an argument, it is important oh my goodness, to anticipate wow, let me erase that, sorry, anticipate, should be an I, an opposing argument, an opposing argument because it allows you to have knowledge Okay, it's important. So the answer is, when making an argument, it is important to anticipate an opposing argument because it allows you to have knowledge about the entire issue. So typically, if you have a claim or a stance on a specific issue, there are people who disagree with you, and it's good to know where they're coming from, so you could turn it on them to help your claim, just like they do in the example above. So once you are done with this, you can move on. Okay, so read the example student argument essay and then match the component to the excerpts from the article appropriately at the bottom of the page. So I'm actually going to have you read through this yourself. This is a student essay, and at the bottom you are choosing which one is a claim, which one is a reason, which one is evidence, and which one is a counterclaim on the right side column. So I'm talking about this section down here. So these are specific sentences coming from the essay. So you can either read through the essay, skim through it, and then you're going to answer the questions at the bottom. And once you're done with that, you're going to move on to the next page. For this page, you will probably have to pause and go to YouTube, or open another tab for YouTube and look up We Are America featuring John Cena. The title is right here. So that is what we are going to be watching for this particular page. So go ahead, pause, watch that video, and then you'll come back to this video for this portion. So now that you've seen the video, hopefully, as consumers and citizens, we are exposed to arguments and claims every day. For example, even a public service announcement is a type of argument. A public service announcement is a public awareness campaign designed to inform or educate the public about a specific issue, such as smoking or gambling. Search the video, okay, and hopefully you've already watched it, and it's regarding patriotism. So you're going to complete the organizer below. Now I'll give you a couple things. So what does the PSA encourage or promote? The PSA is about patriotism, okay? So you're going to write patriotism in that box. Now reason 1 on why the value is important. So why is patriotism important? He says a few things. In the very beginning, he talks about inspiring passion, debate, worn like a badge of honor, right? If you're patriotic about your country, you wear it like a badge of honor. So you could put that in reason 1. Reason 2, you can do love and devotion for one's country, and reason 3, you can put people. But these are just my examples, and so if you want to choose something else, you can. So for each reason that you choose, you're going to give examples of evidence. So if you put for reason 1, inspires passion, debate, okay, and then worn like a badge of honor, okay, why is patriotism important? And then examples in the video, one of them is the flags. The flags are all over this video in different ways. So that's one example. So you're going to go through and find a couple of examples of evidence for each reason that you give. Again, reason 2 on why the value is important was love and devotion. For one's country, it's important to be patriotic. And then the people, right? We are a diverse country, so it's important to be patriotic and to embrace that as an American. So again, give examples of evidence. There's lots of them in that video. Okay, and once you're done with this page, you can move on. You're actually going to write a summary of this public service announcement. So you can go ahead and write, you can take from what we did on top of what the PSA is about, what reasons, and so throw that into a summary. Write that into a summary for me. And then the next part is public service announcements also use a call to action, which is when viewers are prompted to do something to help achieve an aim or deal with a problem. So describe the call to action we used in We Are America featuring John Cena. What does the announcement want you to do? So what does the call to action from We Are America, what does the announcement want you to do? And then the next question is, how does the public service announcement connect to the theme, finding common ground? Review your credit opener activity if you need to. So that's like your first page of the packet. And so I think that the public service announcement connects to the theme, finding common ground, by pointing out that we are all Americans who love our country, no matter our backgrounds or diversities. Okay, and so no matter what background you come from, type of home you come from, we can all find common ground, that we could be proud to be Americans. Okay, and so once you're done with that portion, you are done